I am a supporter of Black Lives Matter. I have been ever since I first learned about it, and if you are not a supporter of the movement, I don't think I'm going to be the person to change your mind. That's not really the purpose of me making this video. There are several purposes to this video. The first is to encourage people to make sure that you are keeping yourself well informed on basically everything that's currently going on with Black Lives Matter and the current state of the country. Unfortunately, we live in a media landscape where there is a lot of misinformation, both egregious and extremely casual, and plenty of it even totally unintentional. But there is a lot of it out there, and it can be really, really exhausting and hard, and even deeply frustrating trying to wade through and figure out what and who you can trust. To that end, I will provide a number of links in the video description that will help you along with that task. But in general, what I would say in that regard is whenever you see really anything online, ask yourself, where is it coming from? You know, what's the source? You know, what are people saying about it? You know, like what evidence is there? Are there citations? You know, is there video proof of a thing? Is there like what? Take a look at not just what the headline is or what the blurb or the TLDR is. Actually dive into what you're seeing and think about it in a manner that is critical, because that's really the only way that you're ever going to develop the skills that are necessary to navigating the media landscape that we live in. The second purpose of this video is just to ask you to keep yourselves accountable. There are many, many different forms of privilege in this world, and some of us benefit from far more of those privileges than others. It is exceptionally important to understand those privileges, because it is only by understanding the privileges that you do or do not have that you will be able to understand your own internal biases when it comes to media consumption and when it comes to forming political and societal opinion. The experiences that we have, the world in which we grow up, the things that we are told, the things that we learn, the things that we see, all of these things shape the way we look at the world, and it is incredibly important to keep in mind that not everybody sees the world the way that you do, and not everybody is in a position to be able to see the world the way that you do. It is impossible, I think, to fully, deeply, intrinsically understand what it is like to have an extraordinarily different level of privilege, but at the very least, you can learn how to empathize, and you can learn how to listen. And if you are a person who benefits from a lot of societal privileges, you have a moral responsibility to exercise and utilize those privileges so that others who do not have those privileges can get a fairer shake in this world. We hear often about how people who have a platform have an obligation to use their platform in a good and responsible way, to boost and amplify the thoughts of those who do not have access to those larger platforms. And that's especially true, definitely, for people who have big, wide platforms and large followings. But here's the thing. In today's age of social media, everybody has a platform to one extent or another. Your platform may be really small. Your platform may only extend to your friends and some immediate family, but it is a platform nonetheless. And if you feel like just posting things on social media or having discussions on a person's Facebook wall isn't really helping anything, it is. It really does, because social media represents so much of how we look at and learn about and perceive the world nowadays that so-called armchair activism really is useful. Whatever tools you have at your disposal, even if the only tool you have is conversations on social media, it's still incredibly important to utilize those tools. Have the uncomfortable conversations. We all know the ones I'm talking about. They are not the most fun thing in the world, but they're incredibly important because uncomfortable conversations have the potential to bring about so much growth in both parties, even if it feels like you maybe didn't get anywhere with someone at the end of one of those uncomfortable conversations. Sometimes we are too close to an experience to see the broad overall benefit of that experience. Even if all you gain from an experience is an ability to better express your opinions the next time you have one of those conversations, it was worth your time. And through this whole thing, please remember the importance of mental health and self-care and taking care of others, because you cannot be an effective agent for change if you constantly have no fuel in the tank. Societal change is incredibly exhausting, and it requires an incredible amount of inner fuel and inner fortitude, and everybody has their limits on how much they have, and you need to give yourself time to replenish your inner fuel. And please don't discount that. Take time for yourself and reach out to others, especially those who are who might be closer to everything that's going on than you are, and check on them. If they're struggling, try to help them. And it can be something as simple as saying, hey, if you need someone to sit next to you while you shout into the void for a while, I'm here. It can be something as simple as, hey, next time you need a coffee, let me PayPal you some money. I'll pay for your next coffee. What it all comes down to is this: Black Lives Matter deserves justice. Black Lives Matter deserves accountability for what has happened, and not just what has happened to George Floyd, but what has been happening for many, many, many years in this country. There has been no justice. There has been no accountability, and that is something that has to change, and that is something that they absolutely deserve to be asking for. All that is being requested, ultimately, at the end of the day, is to be treated with basic human rights and basic human dignity, and for centuries, that has been denied to people of color based on no other criteria other than the fact that they are people of color. And that's not right. It never has been, and it has to stop. The ultimate irony of this video, I suppose, is that I am ultimately encouraging you to place a lot less importance on the voices of people who look like me. Listen to the voices of people whose voices have been denied to them for far too long. Be safe, stay educated, take care of each other. Black Lives Matter.